All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first 1.13 release team meeting. I have let me quickly link to the agenda doc in the chat here. Okay. If you've not already done so, please go ahead and add your attendance to the doc. And as always, this meeting is being recorded right now and will be posted on the public channel, YouTube channel. So please be mindful of what you're saying. Okay. So first up, I have kind of a packed agenda, but I'm hoping we can run through it pretty quickly. The first one is release team introductions. Let's go around, go through our release team table and then quickly go through the leads first and then jump onto the shadows. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Aish Sundar. I'm going to be your 113 release lead. I have been, for my day job, I work at Google. I'm part of the GKE Kubernetes testing team. So a lot of the awesome SIG testing infra work that comes out of SIG testing, it's thanks to all my team members here. I've been on the release team for about 2 releases now. I was the CI lead for 111 and the release shadow for 112. I'm super excited to be working on the 113 release with you guys. And I will hand over to Aaron as the co-lead, and then we can go through the other leads.
Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron Kirkenberger. I'm currently on the Kubernetes Steering Committee, co-founder of Kubernetes SIG testing, and actively involved in SIG release and SIG contributor experience and SIG architecture. I've been involved in Kubernetes releases since 1.4, having fulfilled the role of release notes. I think CI signal, I believe I have either formally or informally done bug triage in the past. And I work closely with the folks in GKE testing and SIG testing to help push things through. So looking forward to helping with this release. I will now hand off to Kendrick.
Kendrick couldn't make this meeting. He's away, but yeah, Kendrick was our release, enhancement shadow last release, and he's going to be taking over the lead role this release. So looking forward to working with him. Next up is Josh for CI Signal.
Howdy. Oh, that would be why. Okay. Sorry, I was just checking on the list of people in CI Signal, and I just realized I was not on Master Branch. I'm Josh Burkus. I'm CI Signal lead for this release, which is super fun because Aisha and I have swapped. I was release lead for 110, and she was CI Signal lead. So now we're going to swap things, and I'm CI Signal lead, and she's release lead. And so I have 2 CI Signal shadows, Morton and Maria. And if the 2 of you want to introduce yourselves.
Hey, this is Morton.
Go for it.
Yeah, so my day job is at Google. I work on the workloads team. I've worked on Kubernetes just for like 3 months now, a user before that, and yeah, looking forward to be part of the release team.
Maria.
I am Maria. I'm a shadow for CI Signal. I've been in the Kubernetes family for about, I want to say, 3-4 months now. And before that, I was my day job is with Pivotal, and I was working for one of our Cloud Foundry teams here of the London office.
Cool. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next up is Test Infra with Cole.
Hi. Yeah, I was the test infra lead last release as well, and I've done 1 other release as lead, and I've been shadow a couple times. So I'm looking forward to playing a role again.
Awesome. So maybe we should then quickly go through the shadows now that we did that for CI. In the order of listing, there's Amit. Are you on the call? Let's see.
I saw DeWalt too.
Okay. Yeah, the wall is there.
Hey, hi guys. The Wall. I am an engineer at VMware. I've been in Kubernetes from 1.1 time frame. I used to maintain the 1.2 to 1.4, the vSphere cloud provider, and I have have a lot of DevOps experience of maintaining a cluster, etc. Till 1.10, and now I'm looking forward to working with the release team.
Cool. Welcome.
Thanks.
Any other shadows on call? Connor or Rahul? Okay. The next role is Bug Triage, Nico.
Hi, I'm Nico Pantaredis. I'm relatively new in upstream contribution. I was shadowing Guinevere as a shadow in the previous release, and now I'm lead of Bug Triage, and yeah, I'm looking forward to pushing that release out.
Welcome. So his shadows are going to be Mohammed.
Yeah.
I see you on the call.
Yep. Yeah. So hey guys, I'm Mohammed Ishan Ahmed, and I have been contributing to Kubernetes for about 4 or 5 months now. Around 6 months now. So I initially started off as a shadow for for CR Signal for in the 1.10 cycle, and I did CR Signal in 112, and now I'm shadowing the book triage for 1.13. For my day job, I work at Red Hat. So I'm a software engineer there, and I work with developing tools around OpenShift and Kubernetes to help developers get onto it. So so I'm from India, and anything else you want to know, please go ahead and ping me. Thanks.
Welcome again. Next up is Athanasios. I don't know if I mispronounced the name. Sorry. If not, we can move on to Subiksha and Tunde. All right. I see Tunde on the call. We're not able to hear you, Tunde, though you don't seem muted. Yeah.
Sorry about that. My name is Tunde. I work as a DevOps engineer, and I'm on the bug triage team. And I already communicated with the other team members on Slack. So I'm really looking forward to this. I work as a DevOps engineer in my day job for a company in Houston called ID Auto. So I'm really looking forward to this and contributing what I can. All right.
Welcome. Next up, Doug. Doug couldn't make it to today's meeting, but Doug was our really able branch manager who wrangled a lot of the branch manager tasks last release, and he's continuing on to lead as the branch manager this release as well. Super excited to have his expertise on the team. And his shadows who are also continuing, who kind of did a lot of awesome work last cycle, are Yang Li and Hannes. Do you guys want to reintroduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Hannes. In my day job, I work at Pivotal in London. I'm a colleague of Maria. And as you already said, I was part of the 112 release, also as a release branch shadow. And yeah, looking forward to getting 113 out.
Yay. Yang is not on the call, understandably so. So we'll move on. Next up is Docs by Tim.
Hey folks, my name is Tim. I do developer relations at MLab. We host MongoDB databases based in San Francisco, although I'm from Ireland originally, moved here recently. And I'm really excited to help out. I was shadowing for Docs the last release, so really happy to be helping out a little bit more this time. I don't think any of the Doc shadows are on the call currently, but we have Jim and Zach returning from the last release. And we have Barney and Naomi joining us as well. So really exciting.
Cool. Welcome. Thanks. Next is release notes, and Mike is leading the charter there.
Hey y'all. I know mostly familiar faces here, but my name's Mike. I've been shadowing release notes for the past 2 releases. Now I'm going to lead it for this one. And yeah, looking forward to, it seems like every release, we learn a lot about the release notes process, and we've been doing a good job so far at incorporating what we've learned into the following releases. So I'm looking forward to incorporating a few things that we just learned in 1.12 and hopefully making it a smoother process for everyone involved for the next release. There are a few shadows, one returning, Dave. I looked online and I'm not sure who's here and who's not. It doesn't look like many folks are here.
I see Baba Tunde there.
Oh, nice.
Hi, my name is Gautam. I'll be shadowing release notes also. Really excited to be part of what they're doing.
Cool. We kind of heard you there, but welcome to the team. Next up is our comms, just handled by Caitlin.
Hey everyone, I'm Caitlin Barnard, communications lead for this release, which I also did for 1.12. I also work for CNCF. I don't believe any of my shadows are on today, but we have a really great group. We have more shadows this time for comms, so I'm super excited and looking forward to working with you all.
Thanks a lot. And last but not the least, we have the patch release managers. We have 2 of them this time, and they are Alexandra and Tim. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alexandra. I work at Google in Warsaw, so an EMEA time zone. I've been contributing to Kubernetes since late 2016, but mostly to add-ons, not to the core repository, and I've never been part of a release team before, so I'm super excited to be here.
Cool, welcome. And our outgoing release lead, Tim Pepper.
Hi, I'm Tim Pepper. I was the release lead on 1.12, and I think, so 2 things to note. Well, I guess, first of all, so I work for VMware, I work in open source, I'm an engineer, but I've gotten involved in Kubernetes around contributor experience in the release team because I see these as ones that are areas of growth in the community and needing more people. So I've been trying to help with continuity and bringing more people into the release team during my tenure in 1.12. And one aspect of the release that I haven't been involved with really is the maintenance, the support portion. So volunteering in the patch release manager role will give me that longer tail visibility to how things work. And I love the fact that Alexandra's in Warsaw. One of the things that I've been trying to do is broaden the involvement across time zones. And then I know Aaron is passionate about worries around how we have a release team that starts up and 3 months later they completely dissolve. So I've personally been trying to stay involved and have some continuity there. And then also the patch release, we've worried that that becomes something that burdens people out since they're responsible for something for 9 months. So just sort of a general theme there of looking at how we make things more sustainable.
Cool, thanks. I do see a few other folks on the call. Do any of you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Sure. I think that's a result of Kendrick not being here. I will be Enhancements Shadow together with Arnaud, who I will ask to speak up in a minute if he's on the call. My name is Guinevere. I am on the Pacific Coast in Seattle. I was bug triage lead for the last release, and I'm really looking forward to getting more of an overview about the enhancements for this release. Cake's better than pie.
Awesome. Great to have you again on the team, Gwen. Yeah, Arnaud.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Arnaud. My name is Arnaud. So my day job is helping people using Kubernetes in Paris, in France, in general. So for the last release of a bug trace shadow under Captain Green. So now I will be feature shadows. Yeah, and Kendrick.
Thank you and welcome again. Anyone else?
I'll say hi. Oh.
Is it Stephen?
Yeah, hey, it's Stephen Augustus. I was the outgoing enhancements or features lead for the 112 release. I'm currently the Kubernetes product management chair, so I'll be popping into the meetings occasionally just to check out how the features are going and see how I can help out.
Cool, thank you. I see Caleb Lubomir. Caleb, do you want to start?
Sure. Hey y'all, I'm Caleb Miles. I work for Google in Sunnyvale, although I'm in house in Berkeley. I've been involved with the release process for a bit now, so I've got some context for how some of the parts fit together. So I'm here if you all need anything, of course. Yeah, I'll just be here lurking in the shadows.
Thanks. And Lubomir and Amit, I see you guys on the call now.
Hey, this is Lubomir. I work on the same team as Tim Pepper in VMware, and I'm just trying to help with the release process in general. I don't have a specific task, so looking forward to 113.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Amit. I work for Google in Sunnyvale, and I'm shadowing Test Infra. I was Test Infra shadow last release as well. So yeah, continuing on that path.
Great. Claire and Dave, I think.
Yeah, this is Dave Strabel. I work for Microsoft on our global open source team, and I started with the 1.12 release of for release note shadow. Had so much fun, I decided to sign up for 1.13. So
cool, thanks. And Claire.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Lawrence. I am new to the Kubernetes open source community, but excited to join the release team. I'm a feature enhancements shadow. My day job is working at Pivotal Software as a technical program manager, and I'm based out of New York.
Welcome, thanks. Okay, with all the introductions out of the way, I quickly want to touch upon a few things. The first up is the schedule for 113. I've linked that off of the minutes there. Most of you might have seen this already. It's a super short release with just about 10 weeks. The key dates I've called out there. The main areas that have brought up some concern is the shorter code thaw and cherry pick time. We have just about 48 hours to wrangle the cherry picks in this time. And then the whole enhancement planning and coding time is also crunched to about 3.5 weeks. So those are the main two things to take from the schedule itself. So we are looking at a very tight release, which means we need to stabilize things sooner in the game and also keep the enhancements on track. So I leave it at that, but if any of you think there's room for improvement in the schedule, please ping me and then we can work through it. The next thing is our weekly meeting. Right now it's set to be, I sent out a doodle a couple of weeks back, and 11 a.m. PST seemed to work for most folks. Again, this is an hour later than what we are used to. So if any of you feel that, since you replied, this time frame doesn't work for you, ping me offline, and if there's more folks that this doesn't work for, we can go back to 10 a.m. And looking at all the other time zones, this time again seemed to work for most people. So I'm not having a second meeting similar to what we had in 112. Again, if there is a need, ping me separately. And as for burndowns, which will be our Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Monday to Friday meetings that start later in the cycle, I'm keeping it at 10 a.m., mainly because once we get to that further in the release cycle, I thought it'd be easier to have them, it'd be better to have them early in the day, which is still reasonable work time for folks in the East Coast and also in other geographical areas. So those meetings will still be 10 a.m., and I'm hoping we can still get the most critical mass there. And finally, I have a release team contact sheet. Thanks to Tim for starting this in 112. I could just use the template. So this has the GitHub handle, Slack, and some primary and backup email IDs of the release team members. So this is for cases when like the standard modes of communication are down. We've had this happen a couple of times and we still want to reach out to folks. Please use this at your own discretion if you want to schedule something with your shadows or for any communication as such. Feel free to stop me anytime if you have any questions as I go through the agenda. The next thing up is group membership. Again, I sent out an email a couple of weeks back calling out how to get org membership for folks who are new to the community itself. Most of the time, the link there kind of gives the template to the GitHub issue that needs to be opened. And if you list your recent contributions, you should be able to find sponsors for your case. If not, ping me. I did check and found that most of the leads for the release team are already K8's members. And for the shadows, if you need sponsorship, please let us know. The next is the milestone maintainers privilege. This we are a little bit more stringent in giving out, mainly because this we give out only when there is a need for the person to apply the milestone tag. So again, I looked and most of the leads who would be needing it have the powers. So we should be good there, if not paying me separately. Next up is process docs. Thanks to everybody, all the outgoing leads and others who've been diligently updating these docs throughout 112 and also in the last couple of weeks. Mostly these docs are now fairly up to date. If not, there are open issues to add the last few details that came out of 112. My request is for all the incoming leads and shadows to please take a look at these docs, clarify if anything isn't clear, or ask any question that seems out of place there. These docs also, a bunch of them, I saw that there are like possible avenues for automation. So if any of you are interested in automating any portion of that, I think this would be the early part of the release cycle might be a good time where it's not that busy to do that. Next up is 112 retrospective. We have that scheduled for the community meeting this Thursday. Generally by now we should have done it and then we can have some good items that come out of it rolled into 113. But we are having it this Thursday and I would look into whatever action item that comes out of it, what makes sense to include in 113. I'd be doing that. So call out for folks to attend the retro and contribute as you see fit. The next up one is updates. So this specifically was from Kendrick. Since he's unable to attend the meeting today, we synced up on Friday to just take a quick look on what the enhancements load are for 113. Again, given the short cycle, it's going to be super critical to keep calibrate the 6 enhancements aspiration against the short time frame so that we can get both tests and docs in time for code freeze and docs freeze and stabilize the release sooner than later. So we both, Kendrick and I are going to be meeting with the 6 in the next couple of weeks, especially the ones which have features deferred from 112, so that we can get a better sense of what they're planning for 113, the status of each of these deferred features, and also their level of confidence around these features planned for 113 as well. Again, there's a link to the enhancement spreadsheet. Currently, we have about 24 features already in 113 milestone. And these are mostly things that got deferred from 112. And apart from that, we have about 30 features that successfully went to alpha and beta in 112. We still haven't heard about what their plans for 113 are, but we'll just wait for the owners to add it to the milestone if they plan to graduate it further. And we also have about 15 features that were deferred from 112, but they haven't been added to 113. So they have the label of tracked no. So we, again, will not be actively tracking these unless they've been added to 113 by the owners themselves. Any questions on these before I proceed?
I just wanted to raise visibility on one feature that I literally just filed in the middle of this meeting, so it's probably not on the spreadsheet yet, but I am using this release to push forward dropping support for etcd2. This is something that was called out earlier. I have links to all the context in that issue. I'm not sure that this is necessarily a feature per se, but I'm doing this thing where I'm being paranoid and trying to raise as much visibility as possible. So I have just raised the visibility here in the meeting. I filed a feature issue. I'm going to go email Kubernetes dev. This is one I want to be pretty significantly noisy about, just because it's removing a pretty large chunk of Kubernetes, but it's about a year overdue. So if anybody has any concerns with how I'm going about this, please ping me. That's it.
It's
Hey, that sounds good to me. I just wanted to note that since you're adding a feature like that, I'm also adding an enhancement which is sort of a meta enhancement around the KEP process. So that is actually listed as an enhancement within the features tracking right now. And I'll post I have a project board up and a tracking issue for it. If you guys want to see what that process is going to look like.
Yeah, I also saw a couple other SIG-PM features, issues also in the feature repo. That's where, from the 28th, I just said 24 feature work, but then, I did see a couple others too.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that we actually eat our own dog food. So.
Gwen, did you have anything to add?
No, I was just wondering if we have or should have a cleanup process, because what Aaron just said sounds more like a cleanup and less like a feature. But that might just be me in my head trying to make categories that don't exist, so I don't want to create more paperwork for anyone. That was all.
I would argue that a cleanup is an enhancement to the project. So.
Okay, I'm done with that.
Cool. I'll add these to the notes. I'm terrible at taking notes and talking, so I'll make sure I add notes to the document. Cool. Next, yeah, go ahead.
A quick question. For the features which were deferred from 112 and not added to 113 yet, will we be following up to kind of prompt them to make a decision on that? Or are we just
I wasn't planning on doing that, mainly because if they think they're going to be tracking it towards 113, they should put it in the milestone, and that would filter into our feature spreadsheet. But others who have done this in the past, let me know if we actively follow up with 6 on those.
No, I'd just be concerned that people would add it into the milestone later in the process, and then we kind of get blindsided by some features.
So I also don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about something you and I talked about offline, and it might be in the schedule. Our intent is to make this more of a stability release and to really defer people who want to add a bunch of new features. So I don't know that we have an official process or policy for it, but I don't think we're going to look too kindly on people who are introducing like brand new alpha features this release. And we're far more interested in people who are doing these cleanup kinds of work, or taking a beta feature to stable or an alpha feature to beta sort of deal.
Yeah, when I spoke offline with a few folks on this, again, there was no specific way we could enforce this or call it a stability release. But then my whole idea was of meeting with SIGs was to kind of gauge how many alpha features they're putting in, or if those features are really needed, or can they wait till 114 timeframe. I think this is something that has to be that kind of evolve on its own once we start talking to the different SIGs and seeing what they're planning for.
So, Aaron, this bleeds a little bit into the SIG architecture discussion of like feature gates and stuff like that. I think at some point, like release, PM, and architecture should. Wow.
No, I absolutely agree. I would love to corral us towards a process where features kind of go through a more thorough technical review from SIG architecture, and that we introduce more friction into the process. I'm not entirely sure that I'm advocating for that during such a compressed schedule, but we are happy to introduce any changes that SIG architecture would like to just reinforce at all levels the message that we as a project would like to focus more on stability and maintainability and reliability kind of going forward. It just seemed like a good idea to kind of use that as a forcing function for the scope of this release more than anything.
I think it's something that we as a team could do a little more proactively or aggressively in this cycle without bubbling all the way up to the architecture level. If we have a little bit more of us looking at the features as they come in to say, like, you know, this is maybe one we should try and push back on a little more. I would like to see us do that a little, because I saw this in 112 as well, that we had some things where it was like, well, what's happening here? What does this thing actually mean? Because the documentation artifacts weren't as good as they could have been.
Right. Like, I mean, longer term, right, to Stephen's point, I'm looking more for a checklist of objective metrics and whatnot that we can use to gate features promoting from alpha to beta and beta to stable. One example would be that beta features can't go to stable until they have tests that meet criteria for conformance tests, so we can prove that a conformance test covers your stable feature. Mm-hmm. Another example might be that you have sufficient test coverage that is sufficiently reliable or non-flaky. But again, the project as a whole kind of is one big broken window in that regard. So we kind of need to clean that up before we can start gating individual features. So these are the sorts of things I'm thinking of a couple quarters from now. But I just think, to Tim's point, like us as a team conceptually rallying around the same, we do have the power to decide what goes in this release to some extent. But I do think it is definitely a collaborative effort with SIGs. I just feel it's important to message the stability, shortened release, reduced scope thing early and often.
Okay, cool. Any other thoughts before we? All right. Next up is CI Signal. Josh, do you have any updates or anything that you'd want to chime in with?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. No, I was just
haven't really gone through the test grid since 112 came out. So
cool. I just have a couple of points there. Just a link to the weekly report or the spreadsheet that you'd be tracking things on. So that way, you could also link it to the release README. And then I looked at master blocking and things were surprisingly green. But yeah, I'll let you take a stab at it whenever you're up for it. Next up is bug triage. Nico, is there anything you want to add here, or we can?
Not much at the moment at the start. During the first weeks, I'm going to aim to introduce some automation in the process, possibly using Airtable instead of the sheets. But yeah, I'll see about that. Cool. I'll post a link to the spreadsheet there in the README. Yeah.
Awesome. And then test infra docs and release notes. If there's any updates that you want to share or anything that changed in terms of test infra. Cool. So last one that I wanted to cover was I was looking more for suggestions / feedback from the team itself about sending in weekly update to the community. So I was just thinking about how short the release is, and to all the points about keeping things on track and stable early on. If there was one thing that one mantra I thought that could guide us was over communicating through this release, over communicating the dates, the blockers, the test status, and everything. Towards this, I was thinking if it'd be useful for me to send a weekly update to the community, say every Tuesday, touching on the main, the status of the release itself, like green, yellow, red, any major upcoming dates that they should be aware of. And as part of the report, pull in updates from the different leads, any process change or tooling change from the test infra, CI signal, especially the failing jobs or tests that need further investigation or SIG support. And going further down in the release, updates from bug triage, docs, and release notes and comps as well. So I was thinking about collecting, if if you guys, if the release leads would be willing to add these as a weekly report every Monday, which I could collate and then send out to the community on Tuesdays. I'm open to concerns, questions around this. I know it's a little more paperwork, but given how short the release is, I thought this might help us in the long run.
I guess I'll issue a concern that I want to make sure we make valuable use of your valuable time, and that you not spread yourself too thin. Yet there's also a weekly update that you give at the community meeting on Thursdays. I would strive to kill as many birds with one stone as you can in that regard.
Yeah, I could also roll it up as a single update in the community meeting, but my aim here was to send it out in an email form so that folks can actually read. Given the experience what was CI signal in 1.11, I thought that got a lot of traction when people kind of saw something in their inbox on a regular basis that they could then track. This could also be a running doc that I can open, and then plus the leads to add whenever they are ready with the updates, or if I can also pull it from the individual docs. But yeah.
A few thoughts from 112. I like the idea. I like having it sort of template structured so the readers understand consistently what they're being told. In the community meeting, I think it's definitely valuable to give an update there. I feel like not enough of the SIG leadership is present consistently enough there to get the message, but it's one avenue to give information. And then I'd also say, I sent 2 separate emails, one to KDev and one to the SIG leads list. And fairly consistently, I got signal that the SIG leads weren't reading the email, but I didn't stop because of that, because I think it's important to give them as many opportunities. We're missing the eyeballs, I feel like, and putting it out there in multiple places it stands a little bit better chance. And the message, I did get a number of thanks on the messages to KDev where people were finding that sequence of info useful. So I would say keep it up, keep it going, and having a structure to it could make some sense for the readers.
Okay. Josh, considering you might be the person kind of giving all the CI signal updates, I'd like to hear from you.
Well, we're going to include the CI signal updates. I was planning on actually doing a weekly one for probably the first 5 weeks, and then after that, switching over to daily or every other day as it becomes time critical, right?
Okay.
And so then we hit the usual Kubernetes dev and discuss as well as, since I actually have 2 shadows, we're also going to try to hit SIG meetings where it's possible, where SIG clearly owns a test, but only in the second half of the release cycle, because otherwise things are in a little bit slower pace.
Okay. So so you're planning to anyway send a CI signal one. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. We can, I can always then start this around just the featured, the key dates when it makes sense for the other updates to go out as well. Bug triage, docs, any inputs there?
Nope, sounds good.
Okay. I will work offline a little bit more to see how we can structure this so that we don't spam people with too many updates. And if it makes sense, then I'll let Josh do the CI for the first few weeks. However long CI signal wants to go. And then maybe in the later part of the release, make it a more blast-tier email with more sections for folks to read. But I will take an AI to follow up on this offline. Cool. The last thing there, was the 1.12.1 patch release. Tim, I know Pengfei is out because it's midnight. So any updates there, or should we be tracking it here?
So I've pinged on Slack and via direct email to see. We're speculating that it's a national holiday week and likely to be out since he's in China, but obviously right now it's the middle of the night to know. So I sent just a ping to see, hey, if you see this, can you let us know what your plans are for the week? That said, I was just looking and I don't see open issues that are screaming out for the urgency. I mean, I know SIG cluster lifecycles indicated they have a break, but I don't know that an issue is even open for it currently or that there are PRs pending. So I'm just trying to get a sense of like, what is our actual urgency?
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, this is Dims. I can give you a sense of the urgency. So right now, Sonoboy does not work. Sonoboy doesn't work because we broke something. So I have a PR in progress and a cherry pick that'll fix the problem. So Sonoboy, the conformance tool, will start working. So we need to ship that so people can actually perform tests in their own clusters. Does that help, Tim?
That makes sense, yeah. I mean, I don't know how quickly we get adoption. Obviously, starting to run tests is a first way of understanding if you need to open bugs and things like that. But and then to some extent there, it's certainly possible to run E2E tests in the Performance suite without Sonobui. So I don't know, like, does it say like we need to get a patch in today versus if it was Monday next week?
It's considered the de facto tool for any vendor to certify their cluster as conformant for Kubernetes 1.12. So as much as I am resolving this issue separately, where why are they using a tool that isn't itself part of the project? Like we were running 1.12 conformance tests, but we weren't running them inside the cluster, which is an assumption that Sonoboy makes. So we're working on like taking ownership of that process and that artifact, but for today, it is kind of an urgent thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to ship it.
So I'll give, obviously, I mean, 12 to 18 hours to PingFi to respond during their awake hours on their Tuesday. And if we don't hear, then I'll rally and see what we can do to get something out.
Sounds good.
Middle of this week, like aim for Wednesday or something.
Thanks, Tim.
Dims, would you please be able to add the issue number and the PR in the release notes in case?
Yeah, I can do that. Did you say release notes?
Oh, not the release notes, the release meeting. Yeah.
Oh, agenda. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks, Jayesh.
Thank you. Cool. That brings us to the end. Is there any comments or questions anybody have? Cool. If not, we can end early and all of you can have 15 minutes back. Thanks a lot for joining in, and we will meet next week at 11 a.m. PST.
Thanks, I just looking forward to working with you all. Have a very Monday.
Later.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Cool. See ya.